What's up, Internet? Today, coming at you with a review of a book I just finished, The Unstoppable Brain. It was a gift from my dad for Christmas. First things first, am I the only one who fucking hates a book sleeve? I mean, I just put it on for the video. It's a fucking waste of time. Waste of resources as well. It's annoying. Constantly just falling off. I don't know why they make them that way. But anyways, time to get to it. The Unstoppable Brain is essentially a book about reshaping your brain and how it works. Reshaping how you think in order to be more effective. In order to be unstoppable, you could say. But let's just get right into it. The start of this book it starts with talking about people's propensity to have a performance mindset, meaning instead of being your authentic self, you put on a performance of what you think you should be instead of living your authentic self, which I think almost everybody does. Everybody has expectations that are placed upon them by your parents, by your friends, and you put on a performance. It's very similar to the concept of wearing different masks around different people, and it's not very good for you. It can lead to a lot of problems. This woman, Kyra Bobinet, that's how you say her name, picture of her. She gives a few examples of some people that she interacted with over the course of her career and the problems that came across their lives as a result of their performance mindsets, of not living their authentic self, choosing to perform in gymnastics, a sport that this young girl loved to do. Her parents started criticizing her, and she started performing for her parents rather than doing gymnastics for the right reasons, being her authentic self. So when you do perform, you lose yourself. It's very similar to what Jim Carrey went through when he took a break from acting, because he would get so involved in these roles that he had that he would lose who Jim Carrey is. And that's why he had to stop acting, because he realized it's not good for you, pretending to be somebody else. And I certainly do this myself, and I'm sure anybody watching does that as well. And then the other big thing that she likes to break down is this new thing that they're researching in the brain, the scientific community, the Habnula, Habnula. And essentially, it's a failure detector. It's in all animals. Every animal has it, and it has a necessary function. It's there to protect you. It's there to protect animals from not repeating quote-unquote failure, not repeating bad actions that result in harm towards you and, of course, your subconscious. The Habnula has been linked to depression and anxiety, hunger and satiety, and even addiction. They linked hyperactivity in the Habnula, and they linked it with depression in rats. And apparently, when you Habnula is turned off as a result from overusing it, repeated failures in your brain, your Habnula continuously triggering. The brain shuts off the signals to tell yourself to stop eating. The feeling of satiety. It's like, oh, I'm full. That doesn't happen when you overuse your Habnula. And it's also involved in driving cravings for addictive substances, lowering the rewards from them, and increasing impulsivity. So this is essentially trying to define, cut out the regions of failure in your head. I was talking about this in my last video, that there is no such thing as failure. And that is what this book wants you to think. It's trying to get you to see that your perceived failure is a limitation placed upon yourself in order, it's your brain trying to protect you. And so failure can come across in pretty much every single aspect of your life. Your Habnula can trigger anywhere from the gym, social media, career goals, relationships, any SMART goals you have, where you are clearly defining goals. She has a big problem with performance goals, saying that I want to lose 50 pounds by the end of the year. I want to bench 225 by X amount of time. You're setting hard limits. You're setting clear goals. And I mean, today that is the most common way to for anyone to suggest to another how to accomplish their goals, would be to write them down, clearly outline the goals that you want to do, because if you write them down, they're more likely to happen, right? That's the same spiel that you go on the internet and you find. That's what you're going to get. The problem is that oftentimes you don't hit your goals. And when that happens, the Habnula, it acts as a kill switch to your motivation, because it's trying to protect you. It's the same way. The Habnula is the same thing that functions telling you to not touch a hot pan on a stove as a kid. That sort of failure, where that stuff is good for you. It's that's a good function of it, trying to learn from mistakes. And it's telling you, don't repeat that mistake. Problem is that we as humans today get that way too much. And so we need to, as a species, as people, need to rethink, recalibrate how we think about our goals. So instead of having performance goals, we need to have learning goals, if that makes sense. So I guess if you wanted to think about this in a sports lens, you would say, you wouldn't attack your goal of, say, you're in a wrestling match, you're in a wrestling tournament. You're like, my goal is to win this whole tournament, which should be a goal. It's something you should want to do, aspire to. I guess that shouldn't be the goal, the thing you're fixating on. It should be for the love of the game, and you should just be trying to improve upon yourself, learn more, become better, and have your goal become just getting better, moving forward, improving. So I think it would be helpful if there was another word for it besides goal, because I feel like a goal is it's well defined, a goal. So we need to love the process instead of the goal if you want to achieve what you want to achieve. The book also talks about habit formation, short and long term. If you want to read about that, I found it interesting. And basically it's saying, the last few chapters were saying, like I was just talking about, in order to continuously move forward and not to have the Habnula hit you and for you to lose your motivation, you need to constantly be learning, constantly be changing. And what she says, she calls it iteration. She calls the people who iterate MacGyvers, people who never stop. people who don't take failure, or people who don't believe in failure, just because they don't accomplish something once, that doesn't stop them. They don't allow their brains to think that they failed. Because if you think you failed, you're going to not want to try again. So the importance of iteration in everything is very important. So with the gym, not being defined by numbers, just the process of going and finding a routine that works for you. If one program doesn't work, doesn't mean you can't do this. You can't accomplish what you want. It just means you need to try something else. For career goals, it's the same thing. If the first opportunity doesn't work, if you don't get what you initially aspired for, you shouldn't think you failed. You just need to iterate. You need to change what you were doing, do something else, but never stop moving forward. So I think it's a very powerful mindset. You can't stop an unrelenting force, you know? If you are finite, you can be stopped. If there's a certain limit you have, you can be stopped. But if you have no limits, if you never stop moving forward, nothing can stop you. The walls are going to break eventually. So I think I would definitely recommend this book to anybody, especially young people who have their whole lives ahead of them. I think young people in this day and age have a winner-take-all perspective. If you're not first, you're last. It's all or nothing. And in this life, there's very few people who win it all. 99% of people aren't going to get everything that they aspire to and ask for and desire the first go around. So I think for the health of our society, I think this book would be extremely helpful for you to read. Because it will change your perspective on what you're doing with your life. Another interesting thing about the macro problems of society is her oxytocin deficiency theory. And I'll just read a few pages from it. This is her theory for why the country is in the state that it is in. So divisive, so much anxiety, so many mental illnesses, just much more common than they ever were. Okay. It is my hypothesis that modern people are deficient in oxytocin that used to be delivered passively in a healthy, connected society through romantic, family, neighborhood, religious, or civic connections. And this oxytocin deficiency syndrome is the force underpinning the upticks we are seeing societally, such as tribalism in politics, addictions of all kinds, especially pornography, deaths of despair and depression, anxiety, and loneliness, as people desperately, unconsciously do everything they can to raise their oxytocin levels. And then later she goes on to give a few things about the extensiveness of the importance of oxytocin for human behavior and physiology. And I'll just read a couple of these that I thought were more important than the others. So one is, when oxytocin is released, it reduces your food intake via a variety of satiety, feeling full, making it a potent controller of your metabolism. The second one was for human genetic diseases that cause obesity due to uncontrolled eating, the area of the brain that makes oxytocin is impaired. 3 is the dopamine release from the nucleus accumbens in the reward pathway. It's decreased when oxytocin is injected into another part of the reward pathway, demonstrating oxytocin's reward powers. And then it says there is compelling evidence that activating oxytocin decreases the motivation of self-administering drugs of addiction, including methamphetamines and cocaine. And then, I'm not seeing it here, but oxytocin is essentially the love hormone. It's what's released when you are cuddling with someone, or just physical touch for that matter. It's a feeling of love that you have. It allows you to feel close. It's the connection hormone that's released when you're close with somebody. And I think as a society today, we're all isolated. We quite literally went through a pandemic, but we've been social distancing for quite some time since the advent of the smartphone. We're all down here, looking down rather than looking up. Relationships with family members are tough. They're troubling. A lot of people don't get the love that they need, that they used to have. And your friendships aren't the same anymore. So now you're communicating over text instead of hanging out in person. I mean, I was born in 2002, and I was starting to come of age when social media really got popular. Like, I was in middle school when Instagram and Snapchat started to become a thing. I think I downloaded Snapchat in 8th grade, and I had Instagram in 6th grade. But I don't think these social media companies had really cracked the code yet on addiction and how to really capture attention like they do now. They have a system down where they will feed you the most powerful or potent content in a way to keep you hooked onto your device. There's lots of money involved in trying to get your attention. So it's actually probably the most important currency that we have. There are multiple currencies other than dollars. And human consciousness is the most valuable one because advertisers will pay for that currency. But anyways, I was talking about my youth and my childhood. It didn't have a ton of technology in it, especially my younger years. I didn't have an iPad thrown in front of me until I had to beg my parents to get me one, But they never put it in front of me as a way to distract me. So I think I got out just in time. I was born just early enough to not have that, have the technology addiction quite as bad as I think the younger generations are going to have, which in turn is going to, I think, lead to more oxytocin deficiency in our society. It's going to result in just people feeling less close to one another, which is dangerous because humans, they need connection. They need oxytocin because we are powerless by ourselves. I think it's a fad right now, especially in more right-wing circles on the internet, being like the lone wolf, of trying to do everything yourself. You don't need anybody else. You just need to put your head down and grind. I think that's insanely unhealthy. Humans have never been alone before. We aren't built for it. We aren't designed for it. And I think it's just going to lead to your destruction if you try and go that route of trying to do things yourself. You need community. So I mean, so where do we go from here? I don't think we failed as a society, and I don't think this author would say that we failed. There's no such thing as failure. We're constantly moving forward. We just need to iterate. How do we change our habits as a society? How do we move away from technology and get more oxytocin? It's a good question, and I think anybody that has any ideas should share them. I mean, maybe it's just as simple as getting rid of your technology. I know for me, that's in terms of my career, what I'm trying to do with my life. I'm trying to get away from technology. That's why I'm trying to go into the trades. I didn't want to sit behind a computer all day. I didn't want to work as a banker. I didn't want to work in an office because I don't think being linked to technology is good for you in the long run. So that's what I'm doing in my day-to-day. But even now, I still use my phone. I'm constantly playing music. I'm constantly watching YouTube videos instead of being in the real world, being with people. And honestly, there's a lot of social anxiety in myself, and I think in other people, going out into the real world, interacting with people, because we just haven't exercised that muscle as much as we probably should, as much as we need to. So what I would say is do anything and everything that you can in person. I'm starting to join a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class. I had my first class last week. I'm going to go again this week. I'm hoping to meet some people, maybe make some friends. That the activity isn't poisoning yourself, just drinking alcohol or smoking weed. Trying to build healthy relationships, ones where the activity isn't poisoning yourself, because I don't think that's good either. You can get your oxytocin from hanging out with people and drinking, but what's the cost? What are you giving up? It's hard. It's hard to make friends that doesn't revolve in that circle. You gotta go do something. I wanna join a bowling league too. Meet some people. Just do activities. But anyways, I got a little off track, but this video was originally about The Unstoppable Mind, and I'd recommend it. It's a good book, and I think it'll help everybody. There's something to take away from it. So, peace.